You never know how much time you have. For me, that stopped being an idea and became reality on August 22nd, 2021. The doctors put me on a ventilator and told my wife to call hospice so she could prepare for the day they planned to pull the plug. 6 weeks later, I woke up to an entirely different reality. I could not walk, I could not talk, I could not even lift my own arm. And I woke up realizing something else. I had not made the right preparations for my family. The plans I thought were pretty good fell through when it mattered most. That is why Fiduciary Alchemy welcomes voices that would have warned me about the holes in my plans. My hope is that you live a long and prosperous life, but I also hope you make better plans than I did. So tune in, take notes, and stay with us through the end when Bluesman Grindle and the Compliance Choir bring a word of caution.
Today, I want to welcome William Bissett. He is with Portus Wealth Advisors. They are a wealth management firm that works primarily with owners of blue-collar businesses doing 10 to 50 million in revenue. He, of course, works with more folks, but that's kind of the folks he works with most. I've known William for a while now. He came on the Leaders and Legacies podcast, had an amazing discussion there, and invite him over to Fiduciary Alchemy. And William, I'm looking forward to this discussion again. Welcome.
Thanks so much, Craig. I think it's been a year. It's great to be on the podcast and excited to share some stories with you today.
Wow, I didn't realize it had been that long. And just for those that are less, we met there, and then you end up joining a networking group that I'm in. And so I get the chance to know you more and more, every week when we do that. And, I've just, I've always appreciated your style. And, one of the things I tell folks, when I'm asking for guests for the podcast, I tell folks this: if they're wearing $1,000 sport coat and a half-inch thick watch, please don't introduce me. I don't want to talk to them. And, and you are not that. You're what I'm looking for when I'm looking for a trusted advisor in my life.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you don't like it. I've got on my I think my one of my dad's favorite colors, pink polo shirt, probably $50 to go along with me today. But it's not what you wear is what you know. And hopefully we deliver some pretty good advice and content to our clients as well as to our conversation today.
Yeah. Well, and you haven't always been doing this. How did you get into this business?
Yeah, so it's funny. I went to NC State and studied economics, kind of fell into economics actually, and graduated in 2002 with not necessarily the best GPA in economics, and there wasn't a whole lot to do in that world. So I actually came out and sold life insurance for a couple of years, life insurance and annuities, and really hated that and switched gears. And I went over and worked with Morgan Stanley. And I tell the story often. The first week I was at Morgan Stanley, I was sitting in the conference room. They had all of us newbies in the conference room dialing for dollars. And they had somebody come in and do a lunch and learn. And the first day of lunch, the second day I was there, it was a Tuesday of that week. Lunch and learn was how to sell jumbo loan mortgages. So this was obviously back in 2004. And I'm sitting here listening to this guy teach me how to sell jumbo loan mortgages. And I'm like, man, that sounds just like the stinking annuity that I was selling 2 weeks ago. And so I didn't like it and ended up jumping ship and went to worked in the back office for a regional financial planning firm up outside of Baltimore, Maryland, and did that for, a while. And then we relocated from Baltimore to Charlotte in 2011 and ultimately started my own firm in 2019.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can always tell when somebody's not from Baltimore because they give it three syllables.
That's right.
For
I'm
me,
not.
it's more like two syllables.
Yeah. Baltimore.
Baltimore, yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, good crab cakes.
Indeed. Indeed. Did I tell you about when I took my wife to Lexington Market?
Oh, I think yeah, you did tell me about it.
Yeah, and so for those that don't know, Lexington Market's a very, very old open air market, and it's right on the edge of a very sketchy part of town. And we're walking in, and she was asking me, "Is this safe?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's daylight. It's safe. Don't come here after dark, but it's safe." And she's like cutting the blood off in my hand. She's holding it so tight. She said, "Well, I have to go to the bathroom." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll go too." And I go in the bathroom and I see out of the corner of my eye, there's some guys counting money. And I think, all right, today I'm just going to kind of shake and leave. I'm not gonna go wash my hands. I'm just going to get out of here. They can do whatever they're doing.
Yeah, no, that's Baltimore. So,
Yeah.
and it's Lexington Market too. So you're exactly right.
You know, I'd forgotten that you had an econ degree from NC State. I took my first class at NC State in fall of '91, and one of the classes I took was an econ class by Dr. Hyman.
Yeah, I remember Hyman. I was in his, I think everybody took his 201 econ class. I took it, actually left school, came back. Actually, I didn't leave. I was asked to leave school, and then came back and got back in again. But before I left, I think in fall of '98, I took his econ class. He was an awesome teacher.
I don't know what he did for you, but yeah, he was, for those listening, he was an advisor. He was on both Reagan and Bush's Board of Economic Advisors. And for me, in class, he would basically tell stories from the administrations, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, you need to read the book. That's what we're going to test you on."
Yeah, that's funny. That's
I
awesome.
I loved it, and I was like,
Yeah.
I don't care what your political leaning is. If you've advised a president, I'll sit at your feet for hours just to learn. There's
Yeah.
something I could learn.
Yeah. No, I mean, listen to smart people, learn from smart people, right? So, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So kind of back to the story. So you started off selling annuities and then jumbo loans, and
So, then I went and worked back office for a financial planning firm where, I mean, they were a fast growing financial planning firm. My job was to crank out financial plans for new clients. And so I was fortunate to work with one of the leaders in the industry now by the name of Michael Kitces. And so the first financial plan I ever drafted, I'll never forget. It was they gave us everything in like perfect order, like, and they had everything in manila folders. They had their cash flow, they had their taxes, they had their estate, like everything was like perfectly. And Michael dropped it on my desk and he said, "You'll never get something this organized again." But now I'll go write a financial plan. And so back in those days, we typed up financial plans dealing with cash flow, tax projections, retirement, education, insurance, estate, and stuff like that. And so I wrote my first financial plan. I read some historical financial plans that he'd written. And I wrote my financial plan. He made me print it out and put it on his desk. And then he marked through whatever was right and wrong and everything. And I don't think there's a single word that wasn't crossed through in red ink. I was like, man, my 3 month review is not going to go well. So, anyways, I survived that, and we wrote over a 2-ish year period. We ended up writing probably somewhere between 160 and 200 financial plans for clients, which was awesome, right? I mean, so talking about learning cash flow, learning taxes, learning all of these different things, learning softwares. It was a great trial by fire for me. But at the end of 2006, beginning of 2007, they were originally going to establish a financial planning department, and then they decided that each senior partner was just going to get a financial planner to help them with their clients. And so I got assigned to go work with one of the senior partners, Dwight Michaelis. Dwight and I's personality meshed really well. If you can't tell, I have a really dry sense of humor, and so does Dwight. So we got along really well together. And so started working with clients there.
Yeah.
Um, and from 2007 to 2015, stayed with them serving clients. And in 2011, I had a software as a service startup that I kind of got off the ground for a little while, ended up failing and shutting it down. But it gave me that entrepreneurial bug. And again, eventually in 2019, started my own wealth management firm, and we're a team of 5 now. We'll hire another person later this year, so we'll be up to 6 people. So, life throws you twists and turns, and you got to keep rolling with it, right?
Yeah. 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 Well, I was talking to Nils yesterday. He mentioned that you were hiring someone else, and he said he really appreciated the perspective. He said you had not his words, my translation, you had a deep sobriety about the the next steps. But
Yeah.
you dropped a name in there that again, you surprised me a little bit. You work for Michael. I can't say his last name.
It's
Kit's.
yeah, Kitsis, yeah. So he's my first boss, awesome boss. So a great person to learn from. And yeah, I mean it's one of those once in a lifetime opportunities to learn from somebody 2,000 times smarter than you are. And so yeah, no, it's a great experience.
Yeah. That's amazing. I was talking to someone else not too long ago that just casually met Michael before he was really known. And I think they were at a conference and they started chatting in the elevator and formed a relationship. I'm like, what a great guy to know and work under.
Yeah. No, I mean he was. I mean, he was very kind. He was way more patient with me than he should have been. But a good experience nonetheless.
Well, when you were talking about how he'd mark up your stuff, it reminded me of the story that Peggy Noonan told. She was a speechwriter for Reagan, and she
Yeah.
would hand in a speech and would come back and blood all over it, all marked up. And he handed one back to her. He's like, and he wrote on the top, "You're doing great, Peggy." And she's like, "Really?"
That's you're doing great. Yeah, that's awesome. I don't think I ever got words of I don't while he never fired me, I'm not sure I got words of encouragement at the top of the page. So
Wow. Wow. No, that's really cool. I didn't know that. That's so
yeah.
cool that you
Yeah,
work.
no, so it was neat to watch him grow up. I mean, I remember watching him do his first presentation on AMT, alternative minimum tax, and I think it was probably late 2005. Maybe it's late summer, early fall of 2005. He did it online. It's probably one of the, back in those days, he did an online presentation of the FPA for CE credits. And, that was the first time he'd presented to a group. And then he took that AMT credit presentation. He started doing it at local chapters, and then he started doing it in Nashville. And then, I mean, obviously took off. Again, clearly brilliant person and just as nice as it comes to.
Yeah. Wow. So you started your firm, you've grown to six people. That's a lot. That's maybe breakaway velocity,
Hopefully, one way or another, we're going to break away, right?
Well, how was it that you ended up with blue collar as a focus? And let me frame that a little bit more. I grew up in the era where you had to go to college, if you wanted to make any money, the blue collar trades were kind of looked down upon. And now I'm looking at these guys, I'm like, wow, they have a nicer boat than I have, and they have a nicer car than I have. And it's become a very, very, it's become a really good living. Mike Robe, of course, has been preaching this for years, like, hey guys, we need to celebrate these people.
Yeah.
How how'd you end up zoning in on them?
So I tried to do it quickly. I'll put you in the Wayback Machine. And in 2011, I went to an estate signing meeting with the client, right? So we did wills, powers of attorney, revocable trust. Client was 80 plus years old. And his name was Bill. And Bill and Nancy, we walked out of the estate meeting with the attorney. They signed the documents. He said, what do we do now, William? I said, well, we'll review the documents in a couple of years and we'll make some changes then. In the meantime, you can just put them up on the shelf and let them collect dust. And he's like, I can't do that anymore. He said, my wife doesn't have any idea about our financial stuff. I have a daughter who lives here in Baltimore who also has limited knowledge. We have a trust set up for her, a special needs trust set up for her, so she can't really manage my finances. And then I have a daughter in Idaho and a daughter in California. He said, I need them to know what to do, and I'm no longer here. I was like, Bill, that's a great idea. I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about, but give me a couple weeks and I'll figure something out. So I created a 20 plus tab spreadsheet for Bill that highlighted all the things in his financial life. Where he keeps his keys, where he keeps his will, where his life insurance policies are, all of this stuff. And I broke it out by tabs: so life insurance, homeowners insurance, basic information that goes in a death in your death certificate, because there's some things in there that not everybody knows about their parents. So I created this 20 plus tab spreadsheet for him, and I sent it over to him, and it had a summary on the first tab was a summary. And I sent over the spreadsheet to Bill, and Bill called me up. He's like, William, this looks really good, but where's all the detail? I was like, Bill, it's there. So it's like on all those tabs. He's like, what's a tab? And I was like, all right, so the spreadsheet's not going to work. So I ended up creating it. I made it a fillable PDF. But when you fill it as a PDF, you end up with so many extra, like you don't know how many life insurance policy he has. So you create 10 spaces. And so I sent it to Bill. And as I was looking at it, I was like, man, I really need to create a software out of this. So I ended up going to my wife, asking permission to spend money to create a software and try to create a business. So we did that, wrote a lot about what happens to your assets when you pass away. And not just from a will trust perspective, but like the actual assets, like what happens. And ran that business for 3 years, moonlighting it, right? I was still working for the firm in Baltimore from 2012 to 2015. And I'd work late at nights, early in the mornings to try to get this thing up off the ground. It didn't work. But when it shut down, I ended up stumbling upon a group here in town called the Charlotte Angel Fund. And so I joined the Charlotte Angel Fund after going to a couple meetings. Because they invested in startups, and I had a startup that obviously didn't work. And I thought, man, if they would have invested in me, or if I would have had some of these folks as mentors, that would have been great. And ultimately, I ended up launching my own podcast called the Charlotte Angel Connection to try to expand the universe of people investing in the Charlotte Angel Fund. And as I did that, more of those folks were business owners. And so over time, my network of people in Charlotte ended up being more and more business owners. And they were, tradespeople, or they had connections to tradespeople, or maybe it's just the fact that I'm talk fairly simply and live fairly simply too. So I connect to people that act and live the same way. But so as a result, from 2015, 2016 through 2023, we just ended up with more and more business owners as clients. And they happen to be trades folks, right? So they're construction companies, they're outsourced construction management, they're landscapers, they're um, electricians. They're all over the board, but they built nice, successful businesses, and they've got complexity, and they don't know how to deal with the complexity. So that's where we step in and help those folks out.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think the idea that you had legs. And the reason I say that, we actually have a guest coming on Fiduciary Alchemy who has a product called Fam Vault, which is the same concept of what you're talking about. And I wonder, sometimes people have the right idea, they just have it too early.
Yeah. No, I mean that idea. I mean, so we shut it down, and I mean, there's been 100 companies that have launched over the course of the last 10 years. I think it's closer to being there. It's just complex, right?
Yeah.
And Americans like things that are simple, and it's just not simple enough yet for it to click. I mean, I hate to say this, and I say it acknowledging me myself being this way too. We're lazy, right? Like we want things to just work quickly. And when it doesn't, and it takes weeks or weekends to compile the information, we get kind of bored with it. And most folks don't follow through with it. So you don't get the scale that you need with simple.
Yeah. Yeah. I run into that. I run into prospective clients all the time that think I have a jar of magic pixie dust where we can sprinkle magical, marketing pixie dust on their business and it just blows up. I'm like, no, there's actually work involved.
Yeah, no. And oh, by the way, do it for no cost.
Yeah. But I think but when you touch on that, I think that's always the challenge. I mean, what you do is immensely complex. It's immensely complex. And most people, not because they're not smart, their focus is elsewhere, don't want to go all the way into that rabbit hole of all the complexities. How do you help folks through that?
Yeah, I mean it's tough. I always say most of the times when somebody comes to a professional, they have something on fire, right? Like something's broken. And so they've reached out to a friend or they've reached out to a trusted professional and say, I need help with X. And so in an ideal world, we create a process that we can just run everybody through that is systematized and is optimized for us from an efficiency perspective. The reality is if we do that, then we end up kind of sort of alienating the client very early on because they just want to tackle X. And so we'll oftentimes do that. We'll acknowledge the fact that one or two things are broken, and really deep dive straight into that. We're huge on education, right? Like we believe that an educated client is able to engage more with the people that they're trying to conduct business with. And if they can engage more, they can ask better questions. If they can ask better questions, they can get better solutions. Now, look, sometimes that doesn't work, right? Sometimes the person doesn't give two cares in the world about their commercial insurance policy. They just want it done. You have to balance that out in terms of how much you're giving them to be informed versus how much they actually want to tackle that particular project. That project, they just might want to outsource and let you just go make sure they've got the best potential project. Where an estate plan, they're really engaged because they want to make sure that their family is taken care of when they're no longer here. And so educating them on what that looks like, how it works, is super helpful. And then naturally, as you know, Craig, you run into clients that want education at different points. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, we've got a process. What we'll typically do is we'll tackle those one or two things that are on fire, and then we'll drop back into our process and we'll run through it, obviously skipping the things that we've already tackled that the client needed to tackle first. But it's probably not the most efficient way to do it, but I think getting the client to trust you and getting the client what they need is really important for a good start to a relationship. So tackling those things that are causing pain to them has been something that we've done really and truly for 10 years. I mean, I'll go back when I was with Kitces, we had part A, part B, right? So part A was cash flow, taxes, education, retirement. Part B was life insurance, disability, long-term care, estate planning. And I mean, it didn't matter what in the world was going on in your life. Part A was first, part B was second. Um, so, anyways, but we tackled it a little bit differently now.
Wow. That's cool. Well, and I think that's the thing for any business owner. I'm certainly not doing business the way I was 5 years ago. I hope I'm not doing it the same way 5 years from now.
Yeah. No, I mean, especially at this day and age, right? You've got to adopt or die.
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, you and I were chatting yesterday about technology, and the big word of the day is AI. Um, how do you see AI factoring into your work and into the industry in general?
Yeah, no, um, gosh, no, it's just moved so fast over the course of the last 3 years, hasn't it, Craig?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it came into the wealth management space initially in the form of note takers. So, it seems like everybody has a note taker these days. And what is slowly evolving into is we're starting to get some agents that are coming out. Agents being people that were computers that can perform certain tasks, right? So we're starting to see tax planning agents. So where we can upload tax returns and start to use natural language to ask questions and plan around it, right? Which has been pretty cool and helpful. We'll continue to see that, which is, we'll see financial planning agents, we'll see insurance agents, we'll see estate plan. Like I think what we'll see is agents um, that can perform some of those tasks that'll take away some of the basic level stuff that maybe what I first came into this world doing was, right? Some of that data entry analysis work, some of that will be done by agents going forward. The concern I have with it is that you've got CRMs, right? Like a Salesforce or Advizon of this industry or Orion or different softwares like that. Then you've got custodians. So obviously the custodians that's making the biggest launch in technology right now is Altruist. They're doing a phenomenal job from that perspective, by the way. You've got Legacy, Schwab, Fidelity, Goldman, whatever. You've got softwares, financial planning softwares, Right Capital, Naviplan, Money Tree, all of those, Money Guide Pro, all those things are still out there. So the concern is that everybody's going to get protective of their turf. Um, and right, they're going to create their own AI agent within financial planning or within CRM or within taxes or within estate planning. And then they're not going to want their agent to share information with another one because then they're scared that they're not going to be useful anymore. So they're already starting to put up walls, right? Like some CRMs will talk with some note takers, but not other note takers, or they won't talk with the custodial AI agents. And so the concern is what happens with these walls as they're built, and how does that impact how we're able to efficiently deliver advice to the end client. The end result is, I mean, you're already starting to see it. I mean, we've got what's the robot Elon Musk's robot's
Oh,
name? I can't
Optimus
think of
Prime.
Optimus, right? I mean, so they're already talking about the benefit to Optimus is he can sit here and read a screen just like you and me. And so for a while, I think you'll see those softwares put up those walls to try to protect their turf. But then you're going to end up with an Optimus that can sit here and read the computer screen. So how quickly that evolves and how softwares evolve to manage it and handle it is going to be a really interesting thing to watch over the course of the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, my personal thought is siloing your stuff is not, that's that's the path to obsolescence. I just think there's just way too many forces. You and I were chatting the other day about there's a agent out there called OpenClaw, and guy created it and he gave it to the world. It's free to use, and the there will be people that put solutions out there. We use HubSpot in our business, and when I started seeing the capabilities of OpenClaw, I realized, you know what? HubSpot's in big trouble. The way they've packaged their services, them and Salesforce and others, it's not just them. I think a lot of these SaaS companies are in deep, deep trouble. And if they're not pulling back and saying, how are we going to stay relevant over the next few years? I think their days are numbered.
Yeah. No, I mean you've got to adopt, right? Again, adopt or die. So and we'll see how long we can continue to adopt.
Well, my belief, and I'm interested in your take on this. My belief is, one of the things that Elon has said is that, we're all going to be sitting around sipping pina coladas while the agents and the bots are doing our work. And and my take on that, he's a smart dude. He's a very smart dude. But if he's right, this will be the first time in human history where a technology advance resulted in fewer jobs rather than more jobs.
Yeah. No, and you know, I um I'm a believer that work validates part of our existence, right? Like having something to do, having something to achieve, having the ability to drive results is an important thing for a lot of people, and to take that away is ultra scary to me.
Yeah.
And I think as a result of that, what you'll see is even if they can do stuff, people will still Like, man, we were out in San Francisco, so I'm a big Deadhead. I've been listening to the Dead since I was in, I think, late middle school, early high school. So we went out to the 60th anniversary in San Francisco in August, which was really neat because it ended up being Bob's last shows. But we went to this little neat sushi shop where limited number of seats, right? I think there's 12 seats in there, and like everything was prepared. You know, it was 14 courses or whatever it was. And it was him and his wife in there, and he was doing the sushi, and she was doing non-sushi stuff. They pre-curated the music to go with each meal. So like the music that we got wasn't going to be the same music that the people the next night got. And like that was like that's unique, right? Like that's the experience they crafted and created. I'd love to see stuff like that continue, even in the world like that's uniquely human. And what other things out there are uniquely human that we can do that can continue to serve society and give people purpose, excitement, and a sense of gratification, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think my personal belief is AI is not good at human connection. I have a salacious proof point. If AI was good at human connection, then OnlyFans would not be a viable business model.
It's fair.
Yeah. I mean, they're not reciting Shakespeare over there. It's a limited vocabulary and
Yeah.
AI still can't crack it.
Yeah, that is fair.
And so I think, especially in your business, when somebody's trusting their future, they're going to want to trust it to you rather than some agent,
Yeah.
some bot.
So no, we'll see. Hopefully so, right? I believe as well, but um yeah. So no, there's a lot of things I believed in the past that ended up not coming true.
Yeah.
So,
Well, William, this has been great again. How can folks reach you?
yeah, so I mean, classic. My biggest presence is on LinkedIn. So linkedin.com/, William Bissett. We've got a YouTube channel. We host a monthly event series called Charting Opportunities, which is geared towards business owners. So you know, go to YouTube, type in Portus Wealth Advisors, and you'll find our monthly charting opportunities, as well as a recent video series that we launched called Portus Perspectives, which is little 2 or 3 minute clips of me and some of the folks here in the company talking about things that we learned from working with our clients over the course of the year. So, and then, you know, email is always an easy, attractive way to grab a hold of me. I'm pretty simple, as you can tell in our conversation today. It's william@portusadvisors.com. So either one of those three would be great ways to learn a little bit more about us. And if you want to reach out and shoot the breeze, that email address will work just fine.
Well, William, thanks for coming on Fiduciary Alchemy.
Thanks so much for having me, Craig. I appreciate it. It's been a great year getting the opportunity to get to know you, and your positivity and contribution to seeing other people succeed is truly inspiring. So thanks for everything you do.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Fiduciary Alchemy, the coolest financial podcast you're likely to find. We go looking for voices like the one you just heard because I want you to dodge the mistakes that I made and learn it without the coma, without the drama, without nearly paying the man. I don't know why I lived when so many others died. That part's still a mystery. Now some folks ask, Craig, what is it you do? Well, I'm telling you now, that's no mystery at all. We solve hard marketing problems in crowded markets, so good folks like our guests can rise above the noise, become visible, memorable, irresistible, and grow like never before. If organic growth is your problem, reach out, call me. Let's make a plan and bring your next steps into the light. But don't leave yet. Stick around a minute more and listen to Bluesman Grendel and the Compliance Choir deliver a word of caution just for you.
This podcast is for information, education, that is all. It is not financial, tax, or legal advice to guide your call. Nothing here's an offer. Nothing here's a buy or sell. No recommendation, no solicitation. I'm saying it plain and well.
Plain and well. Plain and well.
Past performance ain't no promise of what tomorrow brings. Markets turning, people lose on all kinds of hopeful things. Every investment carries risk. Principle can fade away. What works for one won't fit us all. That truth is here to stay.
Fade away.
Fade away.
Here to stay.
Yeah, that's the
Compliance blues.
Lord, the compliance blues.
Get your own financial, tax, and legal help before you make your move.
That's the compliance blues. Oh, yeah. Your situation's yours alone.
Your needs are not the same. Different facts and different goals can change the whole damn game. So talk to somebody qualified before you choose your road. Because the weight of every money move is your own load to hold.
Your own road.
Your own Lord.
Your own load.
Ah,
That's the compliance blues. Lord, the compliance blues. Get your own financial, tax, and legal help before you make your move. That's the compliance blues.
Informational only. Educational too.
Get qualified financial, tax, and legal advice.
that is right for you.